I just want to thank you both for that enlightening and honestly, well, very honest conversation. It was just, wonderful to hear your stories, your backgrounds, the challenges you've come across, but in a way that's so intimate. I mean, it really does feel like a fireside chat, and that, we're in the same physical space. At this time, I really want to invite our audience to ask questions. I think there are a lot of insights that you exposed, one of which I think is around the transferability of different skill sets across multiple sectors. I think you both spoke about different backgrounds, but also different sectors that you've all been involved in. I know, Jess, you also jokingly talk about, Entrepinay within the government as not as sexy as, as business, but truly a lot of those skills are also very much transferable and are actually very much the same as a traditional for-profit business. I have a ton of questions, and I know our audience will too. One of my questions is around authenticity. And we've been talking about this a lot in leadership. How do we create the environment to encourage and allow folks to be their authentic selves? You both talked about values and different core principles that you really lean into that dictate your next decision, whether it's in business or in politics or in other parts of government that are resonating more with you. How have you been able to maintain that authenticity in your roles, whichever role it is, and how are you navigating that as you expressed, Rechie? You're in the public eye now. How have you navigated that in terms of the changes you've experienced in your various roles?
That's a really great question. I just shared a little bit of insight of what drives me when I get stuck, because I get stuck often. I'm not going to lie. It's hard. It's really, it's a very challenging role for sure, and one that I've never experienced. So every part or aspect of it is new. So in terms of authenticity, how do I say this? I remember when I won, or I finally found out that I won. One of the first few conversations I had, and this is the truth. I actually said this. I said, I don't know if they have any idea what they've gotten themselves into, because they brought me into Parliament. So first of all, I was like, woo, okay. Do they know that they're not going to get a typical politician? Because I do nothing like normal, whatever that means. I do not talk, walk, or look like any of them. And I'm damn proud of that. Damn proud that I do not walk or talk or look like them. I've just leaned into who I am as a person. So and I'm a really big believer of just staying true to you. So what does that mean, staying true to you? It means when you make decisions, I make decisions always starting in a place where I think about the impact it has on me and my family. Staying true to decision making, whether it's just making sure that everything that I do has a piece of who I am or me. When I started my women's council, for example, all the personal touches that make me who I am, don't hide it. So for me, it was, Anna Marie knows this, I love personalizing things. So I bring my true self even at the cheesiest level of just how I speak or how I dress. I'm just myself wherever I am, whether I'm rising in the house and speaking. If I'm smiling, I'll smile. I'm not a stiff person, so I have personality. I show it. I think it just means being exactly who you are and coming and representing that. I was so proud when I got sworn in that I wore a bra. I bring myself in every way because I'm so proud of who I am. And I think as long as you just do that in the way that you speak or address people, people will know who you are, and they know that you'll be different. And that's great. Different is good. Would you agree, Jessica, like in the work that you do?
No, I do. I think we spend so much of our childhood and our adult lives And I don't want to speak for everybody, for me, assimilating, right? To fit in, to be a little bit less Filipino, to be a little bit less Asian, to maybe not bring your Filipino baon to school and ask your mom for like Lunchables or a normal sandwich, right? So like we spend so much time trying not to exude our culture, right? Because it was foreign or different or strange, or we didn't want to get bullied or make fun of. But those experiences that we have as a child and growing up are very formative and translate when you're an adult. So when you're in these positions and you're asked to be yourself, like you're almost, it's a bit of an identity crisis almost, right? Because you spent so much of your, the rest of your life suppressing that. So I think that's why these stories that are very formative experiences, whether they're painful ones, are really important to share. Like when I shared my Affordable Care Act story, or when you shared your trucker story that was much more recent, that's being authentic. It's sharing our journey about how we got here. And for me in this position, you know, I'm the first Filipina in this role, but I really wanted to represent my community in a really big way. Everybody knows I'm Filipino at City Hall, right? Everybody. No, everybody knows my identity. Everybody knows what community I'm from because I represent it all the time, right? Like, what good is it to be Filipino and Asian if like nobody else knows it, right? And so, like, what did I do in my time at City Hall? I was been there for over 6 years and went by really quickly. But for me, it's like I really want to show the community what's possible in these roles. So I've, you know, tried to bring in the community as much as I can and make things and normalize big things like lighting up City Hall in the colors of the Filipino flag. That's never happened before. We've now done that twice since I've been with the city. And last year I was like, you know what? We've already lit up City Hall, and see, now that's normal. So what can we do to like go above and beyond? So we lit up LAX. We lit up Union Station. I was like, what else can I light? Like, let's light more things because I want to show the community what's possible, right? What's possible in these roles. And really, even though I'm transitioning out of the city, kind of the culmination of my time in public service at the local level is actually the unveiling of the historic Filipino town Gateway, which is a project I'm so proud of. It's going to be the largest Filipino monument in the country. And so I hope you come, Rechie from Canada, please come and help us cut the ribbon. But it's a project that I'm so proud of because I don't want anyone who crosses into Beverly to ever wonder what neighborhood they're in. I want them to know unapologetically they're in historic Filipino town, and they're going to be greeted by this giant gateway that spans 6 vehicle lanes. You cannot miss it. And it's just going to be a historic day, not just for Filipinos in LA or even Filipinos in the US, but I hope Filipinos globally feel proud. And I hope they replicate this and they see, like what I mentioned, what's possible. So
That's amazing. Okay, when is this? Does it happen to be in July?
It's going to be in May for Asian Pacific American Heritage Month.
Wow.
So I hope you come out. Once I have the date, I'm going to send it to you, and I'll send it to Anna Marie so that it's a big block party and everybody is invited.
It's going to be a fiesta. And yes, entrepreneurship audience and community, you are going to be invited to that. And we hope that we'll be able to do something extra special that day to commemorate and celebrate that day. So we do have a question here. What can the Filipino American or Filipino Canadian community do better to move us all forward? Ooh, that's a loaded one.
Jess, I'm going to let you go first because you've been amazing and I love listening to your insight.
Oh gosh. I think one of the biggest things that we can do as a Filipino community is actually know that we're part of a larger community, a larger Asian American community. And I say that because that was really important in the last 2 years, specifically when we saw a rise in anti-Asian hate, right? They weren't targeting, Filipinos or just Chinese or Koreans. They were targeting anybody who they thought looked foreign. And that hate impacts all of us. And so I think for me, what happened the last 2 years is a constant reminder that it's really important for us to be proudly Filipino and in our identities, but to really connect back to our larger Asian community, right? Because we need to stick together. And the data that I talked about earlier about representation in government and politics, where we're represented the least, that doesn't even talk about the Filipino breakdown. It talks about us as an Asian American community. And we know we're not monolithic. We know that we're incredibly diverse. And we also have to use that to our advantage by building these really strong coalitions within the Asian community so that we can help each other. A mentor of mine, Anna, in the mayor's office, said this to me, and I will never forget it. She said that we are already powerful. We are already powerful, but together we can be unstoppable. And I think that's really the message, is like, what can we do? What can Filipinos do to advance Filipinos and Filipino Canadians is that we really need to work together so that we can truly be unstoppable.
Okay, so when I ran my campaign, I can probably count on my hands how many Filipinos supported me. So 36 days. And I can tell you that it was hard when I didn't automatically receive, other than my family or the folks that knew me already, but it was hard when I thought that I would and I didn't. That took some time for me to handle. There were so many other beautiful communities that did, and they were there and supported me. So I want to just take a moment and thank all of them because they all know who they were and are to me to this day. Now, please understand that I'm not angry about it. Instead, it just like the convoy that I just mentioned gave me conviction. When no one showed up to support me as much as I thought that I would, it gave me more conviction in the role that I have. And that is exactly why I called Anna Marie and I asked her to have an open conversation with everyone. It's because educating everyone about the importance of politics is the number one reason why I'm here in the first place. Everyone's like, what the heck is an MP? I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? Like, nobody knows. What is government? What's the role of government? It's literally the education part of it. It's understanding the connectivity between an individual and why our democratic society is important, and just really talking about that more. I understood my role when no one showed up. That was hard for me, but that is the very reason why I'm driven today to have this conversation with all of you. I'm driven to say, I get why nobody showed up because nobody knows what it's all about. And here I am speaking about it, what it's all about and why it's important and why representation is important. That's why I'm here. And the more that we keep having these conversations, Anna Marie, Jessica, for those of you who are listening, you're opening your ears and your heart to say, okay, these ladies have something important to share. And so thank you for taking this in, because it's going to start with one person. It's going to start with 10. And that 10 is going to turn into 100 and then hopefully 1,000. And that's how it starts. It starts with a little bit of education and understanding and an open mind. And like Jessica said, that's exactly what I had in my mind too. Filipinos are always so freaking separated. It drives me bonkers. We tear each other down. We don't want anyone else to the door opens for us, but we're willing to slam it behind the person behind us. We have to stop doing that. We have to leave the door open to others. Otherwise, no one is going to be around to further us. I want everybody to know that what makes us stronger is each other. And what makes us stronger is our community. But we have to link arms. Here in front of you, we're linking arms, LA, Canada, and all across the country just by this one particular Zoom. We need to do more of that. Link arms and support, because I need it. Guys, I need it. I don't want to go and run another campaign and only have 5 people show up to door knock with me. There has to be more than that. And so here I am asking you and telling you that I need support. We need support. But the only way we're going to get through it is if we get through it together.
So true. And I think with that also, I think you both touched on opportunities, right? Opportunities for us to link together in the broader Asian community, perhaps even cross-border opportunities. And then, Rechie, I think you're talking about the idea of linking arms, but also taking the time to educate yourself on the importance of government and policy, and that no one is exempt, right? I think we're all touched by these matters. And I think we often see it as a separate sort of track, that if you're not in government, that it does not affect you. You both are just incredible mentors to other people, and also just believers in the idea of mentorship, and again, taking that next person up with you, pulling them up to where you are. You both demonstrate that in so many different ways, whether it's informally or more formally through your roles. Can you talk about, in your mentorship experiences, as you are both so passionate about building this pipeline of more leaders? Can we be honest and talk about what's sort of frustrating in any of that? Like, what do you feel is missing, or where are the gaps?
Ooh, I have a lot to say on this. I'll start by saying that it starts with each of us, because I wouldn't get here if I didn't open my arms and say, "Hey, Anne-Marie, I'm Rechie Valdez from Toronto, Ontario, and I think what you're doing in America is amazing. Can you help bring that experience here to Canada?" And she's crazy. She said yes. So it's really taking those individual choices to get educated, to put yourself forward, to collaborate. Each of us have a role to play in the grand scheme of things, because it's when we're closed, when we're like, meh, don't need to know about that, when we just stop caring, all of that impacts all of us collectively. So it really starts at the individual level. And so the challenges really are ourselves being open, because actually just being more open and embracing creates opportunities for you. Believe me. I mean, Jessica took a leap of faith after she experienced what she experienced, and look at her now. It's that choice. It starts with us at the individual level. And I don't want to I don't like overcomplicating things with challenges. There's always challenges. They're always going to be there. If I got stuck on, my fears, because man, I have a lot of them. If I got stuck on my vulnerabilities and my insecurities, or the things that I suck at, I would not be here. Instead, you just have to make a choice and believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities. I mean, that's all I'll say, but I could talk about this forever, but really it comes down to you as an individual.
And I think just to add to what Rechie already said, for mentorship, I think one of the biggest challenges is that maybe we do it in a very informal way for women, right? It's just like kind of informally looking for somebody, or somebody just reaching out to you, which is fine and it works. But for us to go the distance, for us not just to think about tomorrow, but to think about what we're building 5, 10 years, 20 years from now, we really need that structure, that institution who's going to be there long after I'm here, long after Rechie's here, to continue the movement of making sure women are at the table. And that's really why it's important to support organizations like Entrepreneurship and women's organizations, because that is the institutional knowledge that we need to go the distance, right? Like, I care about representation today, but I'm going to care about it still in 100 years. And how do we make sure that we have not just impact, but lasting impact? And I'll share also just one of the new organizations here locally that I am proud to support. It was launched by 2 of my former colleagues in the mayor's office. And it's called Ready to Launch. And it's specifically focused on the staff pipeline, because we know that not everybody is thinking immediately about running for office or being on a commission, but it is trying to give women and specifically college students basic access to these opportunities through paid internships. And I don't know if that's a problem in Canada, Rechie, but here in the US, a lot of political internships, unfortunately, are notorious for being unpaid. So if you think about being a woman of color from a low income family and household, you can't afford to take an unpaid internship. I couldn't afford to take unpaid internships when I was in college, or actually that's why I got sick, because I did take some unpaid internships and I was working at the same time to make up for the unpaid internships. And this lessens that gap, right? So those are the kind of structural changes that I know that we need to fix and look at across all levels in the pipeline. But yeah, it's called Ready to Launch. It's a local LA nonprofit, and it's providing paid internships to college students. And so it's just an incredible opportunity. And I hope that our viewers and listeners continue to support women and girls organizations, because one thing I found out at their 1-year anniversary a few weeks ago that I attended was that only 2% of nonprofit giving in the United States goes to women and girls. So that tells us another gap, that no one's investing money into our success. And so we need to change those odds, and we need to beat those odds. And so we cannot address women's representation without addressing funding, without addressing pipeline, and without addressing and making sure that we support the women that we do have right now, like Rechie. So you let us know what you need, what you run for next. Rechie, we're there for you. Anna Marie and I are flying out to Canada, so we got your back.
The only thing I'll add, it's related to internships. So I just want to say this really quick, which is that the youth are it, okay? So the youth, I'm not neglecting everyone else. I'm just saying that the youth are our future. And so this year I'm relaunching an internship program from 2019 and putting my own arms around it. It's the 2022 Filipino internship program, and it is paid. Okay, just saying. So it's a 4-week program that will enable youth to actually work within a member of parliament or a senator's office and get some real life experience of what it's like working in a constituency as well as in Ottawa. And Anna Marie, you know how we are as planners. It's all going to be planned. They're going to feel supported. And these interns who come and partake in this program will really feel supported, learn a lot about the, government, and all the things we've already touched on, and really feel like that they can contribute. And hopefully this seed, because that's what it is. It's really about planting seeds for the longevity, so that after me, that there will be more people that learn about politics and that will continue to want to run or support as a staffer or in any which way, and to keep it going. So I'm starting there. And I'm really excited to be launching that really soon.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And we're excited for our Filipino youth and our broader community to be able to access that. Paid internships is definitely very much needed, especially I think in this sector that often feels like you have to, I mean, what it does is it gives the message that you have to have privilege in order to be in that space, right? That you have to, that you ought to be able to afford it. And it inherently has inequity embedded into that process. And you both touched on really great points around the gaps in leadership development. One is more at the individual or the micro level. The other is systems level, and the importance of not only maintaining institutional history and knowledge, but also the investments that we need to actually hold accountable from government, from private corporations, from all those that hold funding and the opportunity to actually make these changes at a wider scale. You both are very, very passionate about women's leadership and politics specifically. And one of the things that we had talked about is learning more about what our community thinks about politics and where they see themselves. Are there, at this point, I know we're also working on possibly creating a survey around that, but are there questions that you want to leave folks with? Any reflections or any sort of final thoughts around that topic specifically? We're here with, entrepreneurship is a community of entrepreneurs, emerging entrepreneurs, aspiring ones, leaders, and they're also seeking direction in many ways, right? For some of them, they're thinking of tools and inspiration for their kids, the next generation in their family. So just wanted to pose that as sort of a last and closing thought.
Jessica, I'll let you start.
Okay. That's a really good question. I think, I know we talked a lot about storytelling, but I really want to put another exclamation point on that piece and really encourage every single person listening to know more about Asian history and Filipino history, because that is American history or Canadian history. And there's a lot of really active effort, especially here in the US, to make our histories and our struggles invisible. And that's why we need to know more about people like Gabriela Silang and people like Rob Bonta, people like Kamala Harris, these really formative Asian American figures in our history. Because I'll share one last stat for today, and that's something that came out last May, ironically, during the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month here in the US. And there was a survey that was put out by a nonprofit called Leading Asian Americans to Unite for Change. And they polled American adults all over the country to name one Asian American person, one prominent Asian American person. And the survey found that over 40% of people in the US could not name one prominent Asian American. So just let that sink in. That they didn't even name Kamala Harris, our first woman vice president, who is the first Black and South Asian vice president here in the United States. The top choices for prominent Asians in this survey were Jackie Chan at 11%, and Bruce Lee, 9%, who passed away half a century ago. And so that, I think, for me, really hit home about how far we need to go about learning our history and sharing our history with others. Like literally find ways to talk about Asian history, Asian leaders in work meetings with your friends. It is embarrassing that a majority of Americans cannot name a single prominent Asian figure. And that's what we need to change the narrative on. And with everyone's help here, I know that it's possible. So that's the last thought that I'll leave with everybody.
So that is crazy because there are a lot of amazing Asian Americans or Canadian Americans. And the fact that they couldn't on a survey, because in a survey you can think about it, right? You think. So that's alarming to me, but it's the reason why we're talking today. It is the very reason why we're talking today. I'm sitting here humbled and recognize that this is just one conversation. And it's not going to stay as one conversation. The future is bright. And I'm excited because we're going to think about ways that we can further, you can help me. So I need help, even though, because a lot of the things we struggle with as Asians or Filipinos are the same. We have similar experiences, but in order for me as a decision maker to assist in making policy changes or assist with making changes as a whole, I need to know what the true gaps are. So hopefully over time, we can develop surveys or workshops where you can share with me the challenges, because my own individual challenges can't be it. I'm sure there are other things holding us back as a community. And so once I know what those issues are, it'll help me come up with solutions that can then change the game for us going forward. So this conversation is just one conversation to initiate this topic as a whole. But my hopes is that this conversation continues over time and that it evolves in a way that can further support me in my role as Member of Parliament in Canada. And then that can also then in future help all of us as a community, whether you live north, south of the border.
Absolutely. This is not the last conversation. And I think, you both underscored the importance of being proud and also being vocal about our stories, about our experiences. And it should not only lie in these designated months, because as the data says, if people can't even name one person who is in our recent history or current times, that also points to the lack of visibility and this idea of the perpetual foreigner that we all know is also part of, or also linked just to the issues that we're facing currently as a community, but also to the model minority myth. There's a lot of stuff there that we have been unpacking, but it's not just up to us. It's up to the wider community to recognize. And while you both are in very visible roles and the responsibility does fall on you, just know that, again, you are not alone, that we're here to support you. And I think that this conversation is also a way to invite people to really focus in on what does support look like and how do we essentially leverage the fact that we do have representatives, right? We're lucky in that we actually have people in these roles now, but we are individually also responsible for making sure that we're heard by you. So anyway, there's a lot still to discuss, and I'm just so honored and grateful to have this conversation with you. You both are incredible, and there's so much that will be in your future that in these roles or beyond. And I'm just glad to be able to be part of that journey too, and to hopefully continue to, again, have more conversations like this that create the action that we know that we need. So that was not the most put together thought, because there are so many things going through my mind right now. And I also just want to say I'm representing Canada today with my Vinta blouse. And Rechie and Jessica, I want to thank you both also for representing our Entrepinays in many of the different things that you do, whether it was the Filipino American History Month in October, and we talked about the entrepreneurs in our community, or in Rechie's case, I know you're also doing a lot of spotlights on businesses in Mississauga. Our small businesses need that visibility, especially now. So thank you both for all the work that you do. And with that, we are going to close out, and just want to thank you all for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you again next time we have this conversation. Happy Entrepinay Day. What a filling day it has been.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rechie. Thank you, Anna.